Hello. 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 Representatives, third special session of the 36th SUSG Student Assembly is hereby called to order. Kotak, please present the opening ceremony. Almighty, loving, and creator of everything, and source of knowledge and understanding. We adore you for your infinite wisdom and power. We praise you for you are the only one who can direct our lives. Thank you for all the gifts you have bestowed on us. Without you, we are nothing. You are the ultimate teacher. Instruct us in the way of life and guide us to obey others with the wisdom and love that we receive from you. Remind us that our
Please be seated, representatives.
Given that Secretary General Paika is
Is
not present, the Deputy Secretary General Representative Mayor Vita will take over with Representative Cantila assisting. The Chair will give the floor to the secretaries to conduct the roll.
Hilario, Representative Ozawa, Representative Timothy, Representative Benedico, Representative Mission, Representative Tolentino, Representative Ledama, Representative Munoz, Representative Ko, Representative Ko, Representative Tuale, Representative Kalasang, Representative Saison, Representative Amante, Representative Alo, Representative Paika, Representative Moreno, Representative Visitacion, Representative Barilea, Representative Singson, Representative Singson, Representative Hadrake, Representative Maravillas, Representative Morales, Representative Nama, Representative Tan, Representative Leonardo, Representative Narciso, Representative Bariquit, Representative Mejos, Representative Armojenia, Representative Enopia, Representative Cantalao, Representative Lumaya, Representative Olarte, Representative Cinco, Representative Tupa. We have 87 representatives today.
Since there are 47 representatives present and 3 absent, the chair declares a quorum. I will now be reading the order of business for today's special session. First, we have the call to order, then we have the opening ceremonies, and then the roll call, followed by the reading of communication letters with the excuse letters, followed by approval of the minutes of the previous session, for the second special session that was conducted on May 10, 2026. Then we have the agenda for today, which will be the presentation of the Constitutional Committee's guidelines. First, we have the appointments, and then committee impeachments, with the impeachments presenting the impeachment guidelines and disciplinary measures, and then with the committee on resolutions. Following that, we will have the Student Assembly Committee's guidelines, with first the Committee on Appropriations presenting their guidelines, followed by the Infomedia and Technicals Committee, and then finally the Logistics Committee, and then followed by the other matters. When we have a motion to adopt the minutes of today's session, yes, Representative Tolentino.
For the recognition, Mr. Chair, I move to adapt the order of business of the first special session.
Are there any discussions on the floor regarding the order of business? Are there any objections? Hearing none. Hearing no objections, the motion to adopt the order of business for the third special session is carried. First, we have the reading of communication letters with the excuse letters. For the first excuse letter, we have Representative Aika's excuse letter for the second special session, writing to the Honorable Chair of the Student Assembly. She was unable to attend the session due to important meeting at the London City Office Day. Are there any motions to adopt Representative Aika's excuse letter? Yes, Representative Abante.
Thank you for the recognition, Mr. Chair. Move to accept the excuse letter represented.
The motion has been made and it was properly moved and seconded. Are there any objections? Hearing none, motion carried. Next excuse letter is Representative Barrella's excuse letter for this second special session, notifying that she is unable to attend the second special session as she is traveling back in the afternoon. So she is unable to attend the online session. Are there any motions on the floor? Yes, Representative Ozoa.
Thank you for the recognition, Mr. Chair. I move to accept Representative Barrella's excuse letter.
A motion has been made and it has been properly moved and seconded. Are there any objections on the floor? Hearing none, motion is carried. Next, we have Representative Gantalao's excuse letter for the second special session, saying that she was unable to attend the online session due to signal connection in their area as it was slow and unstable. Are there any motions on the floor? Yes, Representative Enopia.
Thank you for the recognition, Mr. Chair. I move to accept Representative Gantalao's excuse letter.
A motion has been made to accept the excuse letter and it has been properly seconded. Are there any objections on the floor? Going once, going twice. Hearing none, motion is carried. Finally, we have Representative Paika's excuse letter for the third special session. Here it is stated that she will be celebrating her great-grandmother's birthday as it is her 100th birthday, and she is traveling or she is currently in Bohol to attend such birthday. Are there any motions on the floor to accept her excuse letter? Yes, Representative Alo.
Thank you for the recognition, Mr. Chair. I move to accept the excuse letter of Representative Paika.
A motion has been made. Are there any seconds? Properly moved and seconded. Are there any objections on the floor? Going to once, going twice. Hearing none, motion carried. Following the order of business, we have the approval of the minutes of the previous session for the second special session. Are there any motions on the floor to accept the minutes of the session? Yes, Representative Ozoa.
Thank you for the recognition, Mr. Chair. I move to accept the minutes of the meeting from the previous.
And it has been properly seconded. Are there any discussions on the floor? Again, are there any discussions on the floor? Going once, going twice. Let us put it into a vote to accept the minutes of the second special session. All those in favor of adopting the minutes, please raise your hand. Okay, hands down. Those not in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. And those in abstention. With 46 in favor, 0 not in favor, and 0 in abstention, the motion to adopt the minutes of the second special session is carried. Following the order of business, we have the agenda for today being the Constitutional Committee Guidelines. First, we have the Committee on Appointments. The chair would like to summon a representative from the committee to present their guidelines.
Thank you for the recognition, Mr. Chair. So my name is Representative Franz Miguel Tolentino, the chairperson of the Committee on Appointments. Next slide, please. So we have our following members: my vice chairperson, Representative Albon, followed by our members, Representative Bainto, Representative Dumandan, and Representative Tumpa. So this provision primarily defines the role and authority of the Committee on Appointments, or COAP, in the appointment process within the SUSG. The Committee on Appointments is empowered to establish additional qualifications and criteria for presidential appointees beyond what is already provided in the Constitution. This ensures that individuals appointed to positions possess not only the minimum requirements but also the competencies and standards expected of the office. The committee serves as a screening and evaluation body. Before an appointment becomes final, the committee reviews the qualification and credentials and suitability of the nominee to determine whether they are capable of fulfilling the responsibilities of their position. After the committee has reviewed and recommended an appointee, the appointment is then forwarded to the Student Assembly for confirmation. This creates a system of checks and balances where appointments are not solely dependent on the decision of one's office. While the SUSG President retains the authority to appoint officials, these appointments remain subject to the review and approval of the Committee on Appointments. This means that the President may appoint individuals to ensure that offices can immediately function. The appointment is still provisional until all requirements are satisfied and the committee grants its approval. The provision also emphasizes accountability. Appointments must submit all documentary requirements and comply with the standards established by the committee within the prescribed period. Failure to do so may result in disapproval or invalidation of their appointment. An exception is provided for members of the judiciary. Instead of being screened through regular appointment process, their appointments are based on recommendation of Judicial Advisory Council, or GAC, in order to preserve the independence of the judicial branch. The provision recognizes that circumstances may arise that prevent immediate compliance. Therefore, appointees are given the opportunity to request extension or file appeals, which the committee may evaluate and decide upon. Lastly, the provision addresses vacancies. If a position remains unfilled for 60 days from the start of the academic year, the Committee on Appointments may open the position for application to the broader student body. This ensures that essential offices do not remain vacant for extended periods, that all opportunities remain accessible to qualified students. So the Committee on Appointments added or amended some parts of the requirement process in the committee for the SUSG executive branch. One of the major additions to the guidelines is the inclusion of a formal interview process for appointed chairpersons, co-chairpersons, and vice chairpersons. The interview serves as an additional screening mechanism that allows the Committee on Appointments to assess an appointee's qualifications beyond documentary requirements. Through the interview, the committee evaluates the appointee's leadership potential, capability to manage committee responsibilities, ability to balance academic and organizational commitments, and dedication to public service. Appointees are notified of their interview scheduled at least 48 hours in advance, and interviews are conducted by Committee on Appointments with quorum. Appointees are also required to complete a confidential evaluation regarding their co-chairperson. This evaluation is intended to provide the committee and appointments while additional insight into the working relationship, competence, and suitability of committee leadership. The result becomes part of the official records considered during deliberation while remaining confidential within the committee. Next slide, please. So this is Annex G, introduces a co-chairperson evaluation form which establishes appointees to confidentially evaluate the performance and suitability of their co-chairperson. So this will be after the interview. They will be provided with a QR code so that they can express whatever they want to say with their co-chairperson, which will be included in the deliberation process of the committee on appointments. So there will be the name of the committee. We didn't include the name of who will be evaluating. We just input the name of their chairperson. So basically, there are only one example in that, but in the whole guidelines, it's stipulated there are 5 options for the name of chairperson because as we've seen that the executive committee has a limit of 6 chairpersons. So given that there are already 6, we can have a 5 options for the chair so that one can be the evaluator. Next, please. So to ensure a fair and objective assessment, the guidelines establish a standardized evaluation system for the interview process. Appointees are assessed based on their knowledge and understanding of the committee. They will serve leadership and decision-making skills, time management and availability, and communication and professionalism. The result of this evaluation form part of the committee's deliberation and may influence whether an appointment is confirmed, conditionally confirmed, or disapproved. Next slide, please. So this is the evaluation sheet. It provides a standardized interview evaluation sheet that allows committee members to assess appointees using uniform criteria and scoring. So that will be for each member. Next will be the summary of scores of the whole committee on appointments. So the amendments further clarify the authority of the Committee on Appointments in setting submission deadlines and handling extension requests. Appointees who encounter delays in securing documents or experience personal emergencies may request an extension, provided that sufficient justification and supporting documents are submitted. The guidelines also establish a reminder system wherein appointees receive notices prior to the submission deadline. These measures aim to promote accountability while providing reasonable accommodation for unforeseen circumstances. So the revised guidelines recognize attendance during the interview process as an important component of appointment evaluation. So appointees who fail to attend a scheduled interview without valid justification may have their appointment deferred or disapproved at the discretion of the Committee on Appointments. The committee may also reschedule interviews in cases involving emergencies or legitimate academic conflicts. The updated procedures now formally integrate the interview process into the appointment confirmation workflow. So after receiving the list of presidential appointees, the Committee on Appointments reviews submitted documents, conduct interview when necessary, and evaluate each appointee's qualification and fitness for office. Those who satisfy the requirements are subsequently endorsed to the Student Assembly for confirmation or issued an official confirmation letter upon approval. An additional ground for disapproval has been introduced through the interview process. Specifically, appointees who fail to appear for their scheduled interview within the prescribed period and without valid justification may be subject to deferment or disapproval of their appointment. This provision emphasizes the importance of active participation and accountability during the screening process. And lastly, a new article on ratification and amendments has been added to establish procedures for the adoption and future revision of the guidelines. The provisions specify that the guidelines shall take effect upon approval of the majority of the Committee on Appointments. Any amendments, modification, suspension, or repeal of a provision must be introduced through a formal motion during a meeting and approved in the presence of a quorum of the Committee on Appointments. Furthermore, amendments made during an ongoing appointment cycle will generally take effect in the succeeding administration to preserve fairness and consistency in the screening process. And that would be all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Committee on Appointments. Are there any comments from the floor? Please note that you cannot make amendments to the guidelines made by the committee. However, you can raise your inquiries or questions to the committee regarding their guidelines. Yes, Representative Mejos, you are recognized.
Thank you for the recognition, Mr. Speaker, and I would just like to firstly commend the Committee on Appointments for the comprehensive work. So this new system, I can see that it's very comprehensive and thoughtful, but practically speaking, this will pan out as implying more time for the Committee on Appointments, right? In order to screen the chairpersons. I would only like to ask if there are any sections or provisions in the guidelines outlining any sort of timeline that the Committee on Appointments needs to follow. Because in previous years, for example, sorry for saying representatives, the chairpersons will submit their documents at the deadline, right? And it can be observed that the Committee on Appointments in previous years would only screen the documents perhaps weeks or months after that said deadline. And on one end, it would be quite unfair to the chairpersons, and in another end as well, it would not be following the same sort of timeliness that this process would require. So is there any sort of timeline outline there that the Committee on Appointments should fulfill their tasks and any sort of dates?
The question stands, Chairperson.
Thank you so much, Representative Mouse. Stipulated in the previous guidelines after we amended it, there is a section there that the Committee on Appointments shall inform the Executive Committee that the requirements should be processed within 2 months of our within the time when we request the executive committee to process the requirements. So there are basically 2 months of them to process it. And internally, the Committee on Appointments decided to have it since this academic year started at June. We decided to have it 1 month after the academic year started. So basically, that will be on July. There is no stipulated provision or section in the guidelines stated that when would be the exact time that the Committee on Appointments shall start their appointment process. So it is basically depends on the decision made within the committee on how on what specific timeline will we do that. So if we intended to have it on July, so basically it will end at the end of September, in which we also included the reason that during August, there will be a lot of activities that will be happening in the campus, and then there will be conflict to the assembly and also the executive committee to focus only or solely to the requirements, because they have also other commitments to focus on. So we ensure to have the interview process within a week or 2 weeks before the deadlines of the submission of requirements.
Thank you so much for that, Representative. So you're saying that that sort of provision was in previous guidelines, however, not in the current one, right?
I will still adopt the same current provision. We just didn't amend it that one. We just retained it to this guidelines, but we didn't mention it since we're only discussing the part where where the parts that we amended or we added some sections to the guidelines.
So to clarify, we representatives can still expect that some sort of framework in order for you to concretize your efforts or your workflow chart internally would still be added here, right? It would still be in the guidelines itself.
Yes, I believe yes. To have a more transparency within the committee. So I believe that we will include that.
Thank you so much, Representative.
Thank you very much, Representative Mejos. Are there any further inquiries or comments? Yes, Representative Munoz.
Thank you for the recognition, Mr. Chair. I would just like to ask Representative Valentino a clarification if in located at E criteria for interview process section 1 annex F, you've added here the interview evaluation sheet. And may I just ask if there is any form of reference to the criteria or the evaluation form itself? Because I personally I haven't found any reference of any sort cited or stated here with the form. So the criteria might seem inaccurate or of bias if it's without reference. That's all, Mr. Chair.
Representative Tolentino, do you have a response to that?
Right. Thank you so much, Representative Munoz. Indeed, that there is no reference within how we made up this kind of criteria, but us as an executive committee chairperson before, we also were able to work within the executive committee. So as now being part of the committee on appointments, we know the inside and outs of the executive committee. So we also take that into accountability or in deciding to how we will evaluate the chairs, because we want them to work inside their committee a more progressive and more comfortable one.
Inquiry satisfied, Representative?
Mr. Chair, I would like to ask for a follow-up and a suggestion. I truly believe that even when it comes to grading systems or of the minute of research papers, we should have proper citations or previous research from institutions to better prove and make our papers or guidelines substantial. With this, I would want to suggest to the chairperson and the representatives, the members of the committee, Mr. Chair, that it would have been better and it would be better to really put in a research and a substantial evaluation and criteria form, because even though it's just a mere criteria, each administration of an executive committee really differs regardless of the experience that we have. That's all, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Do you have a response to that, Representative Tolentino, or no?
I would like to thank Representative Munoz for that suggestion. While the committee on appointments haven't yet filed or sent an email to the executive committee to process the requirements, so the amended guidelines as of now isn't yet in action. So with that suggestion being made, the committee on appointments will take that into account and proceed with another meeting on how we will further establish the criteria guidelines as Representative Representative Munoz suggestion. Thank you so much.
Okay. Are there any further sentiments? Yes, Representative Amante.
Thank you for the recognition, Mr. Speaker. I would like to bring up an observation. It's not one of the amendments made by the present committee, but it's rather in the continuing provisions of their guidelines. So I'd like to bring everyone's attention to Article 3C, specific requirements. Okay, so thank you very much, Infotech. So with Section 1, for the specific requirements, it says the chairpersons, co-chairperson, and vice chairpersons must not hold any of the following positions, which is SUSG Student Assembly Representative, Judiciary Prime Justice or Justice, Cabinet Commissioner, Council Governor, Vice Governor, and or Organization President, Vice President. So if I may make a sentiment here, first of all, this is probably just for more not clarification, more for building up more on the specific requirements. So specific on letter C, I would suggest to the committee to also add COMELEC chairperson because commissioner is separated from chairperson. Then I would like to inquire, since this is from the previous provisions, the committee may or may not be able to answer this. In letters D and E, governor, vice governor, and or organization president, vice president. Look, wait, and just for clarification, specific requirements, this is just for executive committees, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So in Article 8 of the SUSG Constitution, Section 2, the cabinet shall be composed of the president, vice president, and chairperson of the vice chairpersons of the executive committees. Then Section 3, members of the cabinet must not simultaneously hold any other elective and or appointative positions from the SUSG Student Assembly and judiciary. So if I may add, or if I may inquire with the committee, why are we also, I understand the inclusion of COMELEC, but if you are able to give an answer or sentiment, why are we also barring the governors, vice governors, and organization presidents and vice presidents from such positions? Because it's understandable we're trying to uphold the separation of powers here, but in the context of the SUSG, all of these are executive in nature. So it's not, that's why we're upholding the barring of assembly reps and judiciary from being part of execom chairs. But in the past, we have had governors, vice governors, and organization presidents. So the difference here is that specifically in letter E, if we're just going to specify organization presidents, this also includes mga smaller organizations. So unlike the wisdom of the previous provisions in the Constitution, we specifically mentioned academic organizations. So if we're going to mention organization, that means pretty much any organization in the university. So just like to ask if there's any present sentiment on the committee from based on my sentiments, Mr. Chair.
The question stands, Representative Tolentino.
So thank you so much, Representative Amante, for your inquiry regarding the specific requirements under the executive committees. Regarding this section, indeed, that us, the committee on appointments, haven't really established on how this part was being added. But I think with your inquiry, I think before I can give a concrete answer to that, I need to consult with the previous chairpersons in the committee on appointments to how we will be have a more suitable answer for your question or inquiry. We will also take that into consideration. So after the consultation with the previous chairperson of the Committee on Appointments just a second ago, so it is stated that the committee has the full discretion on how the specific requirements, or has the full discretion on how the committee on appointments will be establishing in choosing or appointing specific positions in the SUSG, and that includes the council governor, vice governor, and or the organization president and vice president. It is because of the issue that one person might have a too much workload on their end, having that they can't balance or they can't give enough justification for a certain position, and that was also considered with the previous committee on appointments. So with that, with your inquiry, Representative Amante, I think that we the committee on appointments this academic year can specify to which specific organization. We can also include, just like what you've mentioned, in academic organization, so that it is more specific to how we'll be appointing the executive committees. Thank you so much.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Speaker. So just on my end, of course I recognize the separation and the independence of the committee, but I'm also thankful for the consideration. So yes, in closing, I would just further recommend just the inclusion of the chairperson of COMELEC, council governor and vice governor. I guess with that strong argument, yes, I can understand, but I would also push for the specification of organization and specifically for academic organizations. And with all, that's all from my end. Thank you very much to the committee and the speaker.
Thank you very much, Representative Amante. Are there any other sentiments from the floor regarding the guidelines of the Committee on Appointments? Okay. Hearing none, thank you very much, Committee on Appointments, for presenting your guidelines.
Thank you so much, the representatives. Thank you so much, Mr. Chair.
Following the order of business, the Chair would like to summon the Committee on Impeachments to present the impeachment guidelines followed by the disciplinary measures.
Good afternoon, honorable representatives. So today the Committee on Impeachments would like to present the impeachment guidelines of the 36th SUSG Student Assembly Committee on Impeachment. Beginning first with our definition of terms. For the purposes of this document, gross misconduct shall be defined as severe and inappropriate behavior by a student government official that is inconsistent with the expectations of their office. This includes actions that compromise the integrity, dignity, or reputation of the student government or cause significant harm to individuals or the community. Culpable violation shall be defined as deliberate or reckless breach of the SUSG Constitution, bylaws, and other governing documents. This includes actions that knowingly disregard established rules or policies, leading to serious consequences for the organization or its members. Abuse of power shall be defined as improper use of authority granted to a student government official for personal gain, to harm others, or to subvert the principles of fairness, justice, and democracy within the student government. Negligence of responsibilities shall be defined as the failure of a student government official to fulfill the duties and obligations of their position, either through persistent inactivity, disregard for their role, or failure to meet the expected standards of performance. Anomalous deeds shall be defined as actions by the student government official that are irregular, unusual, or deviate significantly from the expected conduct in a manner that raises concerns about legality, ethics, or propriety. Sorry. Maladministration shall be defined as the inefficient, incompetent, or corrupt management of duties by a student government official which leads to significant disruptions or harm to the operations of the student government or its constituents. Sufficient legal background shall pertain to the necessary knowledge or education in legal principles relevant to the governance and operations of the student government, including the SUSG Constitution and bylaws. A student with sufficient legal background may be a member of the Judiciary Board or a student in any program that has undergone a subject tackling legal proceedings that has a course weight of at least 3 units. Now moving on to guideline number 1, applicability of rules. Number 1, these applicability of rules. These rules shall apply to all proceedings on impeachment in the SUSG Student Assembly that may be filed against the following positions: the SUSG President and Vice President, the chairpersons and the members of the constitutional committees of the executive body, the officials of the judiciary body, the officers, chairpersons, and members of the constitutional and ad hoc committees, university council representatives, and members of the student assembly. No impeachment proceedings shall be initiated against the same SUSG official more than once within a period of 1 semester. Number 2, the grounds for impeachment/removal. The SUSG President and Vice President, the chairpersons and the members of the constitutional committees of the executive body, the officials of the judiciary body, the officers, chairpersons, and members of the constitutional and ad hoc committees, university council representatives, and members of the student assembly may be impeached or removed on the following grounds: gross misconduct, culpable violation of the SUSG Constitution, abuse of power, negligence of responsibilities, anomalous deeds, or maladministration, and as an addition for the clauses, reaching the attendance threshold for removal for the student assembly members. Now, moving on to how we can file on initiating impeachment. Now, the impeachment shall be initiated by filing a complaint in the form of a portable document format or a PDF submitted to the email of the Committee on Impeachment, which must be endorsed by at least 1/4 of the student assembly or 12 of the total members of the student government. As such, the modes of initiating impeachment are as follows: a complaint for impeachment filed by any member of the student assembly and endorsed by 1/4 of the total members of the student assembly, or a complaint filed by any student and endorsed by 1/4 of the total members of the student assembly, or a complaint for impeachment filed by at least 1/4 of all the members of the student assembly, or a complaint for impeachment filed at least by 12 members of the total members of the student government. That is the necessary components of initiating the impeachment. As for the rest of these guidelines, this is a matter of technicality and can be reviewed personally by the representatives at this point. We can now move on to the disciplinary measures. So, next slide, please. So the Committee on Impeachment is a constitutionally mandated committee that has the that is responsible for initiating impeachment/removal proceedings, investigate claims of violations, and acts as the enforcer of the House rules of the Student Assembly. Next slide. Kindly skip lang to the notable guidelines of the committee, please. Okay. Now, one of the notable guidelines of the committee is the new attendance system, or the point equivalence attendance system abbreviated as PEACE. The system basically attaches a set value of points to each specific attendance remarks, such as absences, lates, and exit. The point equivalence attendance systems are divided into 2 session categories: the regular session and the special session, and 2 remark subcategories: excused and unexcused. Next slide. Now, as for the specifics of the attendance system, all members of the student assembly starts at a minimum of 0 points with a maximum attainable of points of 60. At the following amounts, the Committee on Impeachment issues the following disciplinary actions. At 15 points, we notify the member in question discreetly, either through email or through personal contact. At 30 points, a written warning will be issued to the member in question. At 45 points, the officers of the assembly are notified and the committee will issue a written warning to the member in question. At 60 points, the committee will issue a letter of recommendation for removal of the member during the immediate next assembly session. Moving on, as the category of regular session, excused attendance is classified excused if the member has an acceptable reason for their absences, lates, or exits, as outlined in this document. For excused absence, these are given a value of 10 points. For excused lates, these are given a value of 4 points, and excused exits, 4 points. Next, for unexcused, these attendants are classified unexcused if the member does not have an acceptable reason for their absences, lates, or exits. For unexcused absences, this is given a value of 20 points. For unexcused lates, This is given a value of 6 points, and as well as unexcused exits, 6 points. Moving on for special session. The attendance, likewise, for excused and unexcused, same regapon and definition. The only difference is that this is for the special session. For excused absences in the special session, it is given a value of 5 points. For excused lates and exits, it is given a value of 2 points. Next, for the unexcused absences, it is given a value of 10 points, and for unexcused lates and exits, given a value of 4 points. Now, moving on. We have a reconsideration clause for members who have been removed through the attendance system. So any member who has been removed by the student assembly through the point equivalence attendance system may send a request for reconsideration to the speaker of the student assembly, of which the document shall be discussed on the immediate following session of the student assembly. A two-thirds supermajority vote is required to overturn the previous ruling of the assembly, and likewise, since this can also be made into a motion, any member who has voted in favor of the removal may make a motion for reconsideration on behalf of the member removed by the student assembly. Next slide. Likewise, the point equivalence attendance system also has its own complementary system, the reduction system. Now, any member can do the following actions to reduce the overall accumulated points. Community-based actions, which is determined by the speaker of the student assembly, can have a value of 5 to 60 point reduction, which is not repeatable. For attendance-based actions, which are repeatable, you can attend 2 regular sessions to completion for a total of 20 points reduction, repeatable, or enter the session 15 minutes early for 2 sessions consecutively for a 10-point reduction, repeatable. Now, moving on. For the merits of past actions and future-proofing actions, actions that have been done in the past or for the sake of future-proofing, despite its qualification for the reduction system, will not be put into consideration in reducing accumulated points in attendance. All actions that reduce accumulated points shall only be done after being issued a point sa attendance system na to. And lastly, we have the QR attendance. A QR code will be provided 30 minutes before the session begins. Only members, those who wish to avail the point reduction system, are obliged to scan the QR code to verify the exact time and date on when the action is done. And that is for the PPT. We can move on to the PDF. I'd like to highlight lang the violations sa guidelines naman. So moving to Article 2, which is around page 6. Okay. For the degrees of violations, we have 3 degrees of violations. The first degree violations, these are minor infractions against the student assembly decorum and administrative duties. These do not cause significant disruption to the operations, integrity, or dignity of the student assembly and are sanctionable only by reprimands. The following are considered to be first-degree violations: failure to observe the decorum and parliamentary rules of the student assembly; B, failure to submit required reports, documents, or comply with the official directives of the student assembly or its officers; and C, disrespectful but non-disruptive conduct during the student assembly sessions or official student government functions. For second-degree violations, these violations reflect more serious misconduct that may compromise the student assembly's functions or credibility. Members committing these violations shall be issued a formal written warning. A member may accumulate a maximum of 3 written warnings. Then the following violations are considered to be second-degree violations: disrespectful, disorderly, or disruptive conduct during student assembly sessions or official student government functions; unauthorized disclosure of confidential student assembly proceedings, records, or privileged communications; breach of confidentiality, ethical standards, and/or protocols of the SUSG, and acts that may compromise the impartiality, independence, or credibility of the student assembly. And lastly, for the third-degree violations, these are grave offenses that are subject to removal proceedings. Any member who commits any of these violations shall automatically be subjected to removal proceedings by the Committee on Impeachment. The following violations are considered to be third-degree violations: gross misconduct, culpable violation of the SUSG Constitution, abuse of power, negligence of responsibilities, anomalous deeds or maladministration, grave dishonesty or submission of fraudulent documents to the Student Assembly, commission of criminal acts or violations of university policies, resulting in the formal sanctions by the university administration, and repeated commission of violations previously subject to disciplinary action under the first and second degree. That is the notable parts sa guidelines. Feel free to peruse through the rest na. These are all technical details.
Thank you very much, Committee on Appointments. With that presentation, are there any inquiries, comments, or sentiments from the floor regarding the new system as well as the guidelines of impeachment? Yes, Representative Barikit.
Thank you for the acknowledgement, Mr. Chair. For the guidelines of impeachment, guideline number 2, subsection 1, it does state that impeachment shall be initiated by the filing of a complaint in the form of a PDF endorsed by either the Student Assembly or 12% of the total members of the student government. I would just like some clarification of this 12%, as it does state in the Constitution that every member of the student population, if they are duly enrolled in Silliman, is a member of the student government.
That is a good one. Thank you for the wonderful question, Representative Barikit. Regarding the 12% of total members of the student government, regarding this is referring to the SUSG officials, although it has not been clarified to this document. And thank you for pointing that out. That is something that I have to take note before submitting this officially. That is my answer, Mr. Chair.
Inquiry satisfied, Representative?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Okay. Are there any further discussions regarding the presentation or the system being implemented by the Committee on Impeachment? Going once? Okay. The chair will allow for 2 minutes for the representatives to review the document that the Committee on Impeachment has presented for you guys to be able to raise your questions and sentiments.
For reference, representatives, the disciplinary measures kaya na-added to ang major amendments for regarding the attendance system and and then a few other major changes. So you can feel free to take a look before I'm
Yes, Representative Ozoa, you are recognized.
Thank you for the, thank you for the recognition, Mr. Chair. I would like to move for a 5-minute recess.
A motion has been made. Are there any objections? Properly moved and seconded and motion carried. We will conduct a recess for 5 minutes. the Committee on Impeachments, Guidelines, and Disciplinary Measures? Yes, Representative Saison.
Thank you for the recognition, Mr. Chair. I would just like to ask about the point system, specifically regarding the regular sessions of like minus 10 points to Shanna. I would just like to clarify. Is there any way to decrease it from 10 to 8 or 6 at the very least? Because considering that it's already excused naman pod, it's a bit unfair for those people na kuan or to exchange na lang the kuan since the special sessions is 5 since the sessions are 5 points and then the regular is 10, how about we just swap those two? This is only in regards to the kuan sane the excused letter sections.
The question stands, proponent.
Allow me 1 minute to find the original amounts before the doubled amounts. So regarding about being able to switch the amounts of points from the special session of 5 and then with clarification, you want it to be like lower put sa kwan, no? Sa for regular excuse, right? Regarding that, since ang basis namo sa overall na tally is on the standards before nga 3 unexcused absences. If amo siyang usboning sa excused, maguba ang tally sa uban kay tungod kay we have to balance it out na po. We have to balance it out and that would mean nga mausob na pod ang total nga set amounts namo for disciplinary actions. We did initially sa on the creation of the points, this was supposed to be a maximum of 30 points. However, the committee determined nga it's difficult to put set amounts nga when we maka-issue disciplinary actions because it requires us having to use decimal points sa each points. And so by changing this absence, mag-rebalance na pod me and and for a lack of a better word, mabuang na po ko ang nagtrabaho.
I would like to raise another question if this will apply to the previous sessions.
The system will not apply to the previous sessions considering this is still I'm still presenting it. This will apply after the presentation of the for their first regular session rather. So safe pamutan.
Thank you so much for answering.
Thank you very much, Representative Saison. Do you have any? Okay. Again, are there any further discussions? Yes, Representative Amante. You are recognized.
Thank you for the recognition, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to ask for further clarification on Section 1's QR attendance system. You already, although in our prior to the session, were able to explain it to me, but just for it maybe on the record, requesting that the QR attendance will be properly explained to the rest of the floor.
Okay. So thank you for the question, Honorable Representative. The QR code will be given to the secretaries in advance in in case kung naiganahan mo scan sa representatives who were absent, maybe late, or who exited early sa session on the previous session. So basically, for those who want to avail the reduction system, they just have to approach the secretaries for the QR code and then scan. It's not necessary nga everyone sa assembly mo scan for the attendance. It's only for those who wish to avail the reduction system, since we need the time and date to verify if kung when gibuhat ang action ang inyong ang actions so that maka-avail mo sa reduction. That I hope that answers your question, Honorable Representative.
Inquiry is satisfied, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Okay, are there any further discussions? Yes, Representative Tolentino, you are recognized.
So, in the attendance-based action part, abang Branaga. So, kanang enter the session 15 minutes early for two sessions consecutively or 10 or for 10 points reduction. I'd like to ask if, kung say basis niya sa time, no, when you mean like mag-start ba ang session? Like, for example, the order of business states that the session will begin at 1 to 1 and it will end to 5. So, is it like 15 minutes early than 1 p.m.? Or is it the time na mag-start jud ang session because dili mo siya na 1 p.m. exactly magbegin. So, pareha ganina there will be delays. So, is it, for example, mag-start mo tag 1:30? So, is it 15 minutes early in 1:30? Or, say,
Question, Mr. Thank you for the question, Honorable Representative. Question to the Speaker. In the House rules, does it specify a specific time sa sessions nato, right? 1 to 5?
Oh, for the House rules, regular sessions always begin at 1 in the afternoon.
So, following that, with that being said, we are gonna follow sa House rules nga at 1 p.m. even though not all the time nga 1 p.m. exact mo abot or mo start ang session, muna standard ang i-follow nato. So, 15 minutes before 1 p.m. ang i-follow na nato.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Representative. The chair has a question to the Committee on Impeachments regarding the QR code. So you stipulated kanina that the secretaries will be the ones who will coordinate with the representative in achieving the QR code. Does that mean that the secretaries will have to be here 15 minutes prior to the session?
Depending on, thank you for the question, Honorable Representative. Depending on the availability, if the secretaries are not yet available, however, na ay available nga Committee on Impeachment nga member or any of the chairs, kay they can be the ones who can administer the QR code.
So
Pero
so-
mainly the secretaries ang imipahandle in cases nga.
Okay, so the Committee on Impeachments will be coordinating with the secretaries, correct?
Yes po.
Okay. Thank you very much, Representative. Are there any further discussions on the floor regarding the presentation? Yes, Representative Michon.
So thank you for the recognition, Mr. Chair. I would like to ask lang on behalf of inquiry on behalf of me and my fellow representatives, we would like to ask regarding kaning point equivalence attendance reduction system. If you would be able, if like you would be able to avail of these reduction points in advance. So bali murag mo negative imuhang point standing.
Thank you for the question, Honorable Representative. As per the article, the merits of past actions and future-proofing actions, that is not allowed. We specifically made sure to avoid negative points since that can lead to abuse in the system. Although it's not perfect, it's the best we can do to prevent bad actors from abusing the system.
Very satisfied, Mr. Chair.
Are there any further discussions? Yes, Representative Pukulan.
Okay, thank you for that recognition, Mr. Chair. I would like to ask ng sa point system ba na mo refresh ba na siya kada second sem? Pag new semester?
Thank you for the question, Honorable Representative. No, the system will not refresh every semester, considering we are only limited by a number of sessions. I imagine nga if there was a case nga one of us in the assembly nga duol na unta for removal due to being consistently absent, unya ni kalitra gabot ang second semester, so kuan na noon, makalikay na noon sila sa accountability silang actions, so they can go back to being absent again. Yeah, walay repercussions. So that's why we opted nga dili siya ma-refresh every semester.
Agree, satisfied. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, representatives. Are there any further inquiries towards the Committee on Impeachments? Going once? Going twice? Thank you very much, Committee on Impeachments, for your presentation.
Thank you, everyone.
Following the order of business, the chair summons the Committee on Resolutions to present their guidelines.
Good afternoon, honorable representatives. As the committee chairperson, I will be reporting on behalf of the Committee on Resolutions. Once again, good afternoon. I am Representative Agustino Manuel Cantilla. With me in the committee is my vice chairperson, Representative Emmanuel Co, and our members, Representative Robert Pukulan, Representative Niza Lumaya, and Representative Sofia Armojenia. First and foremost, I would just like to report to say that this would be our report for the entire assembly. So the Committee on Resolutions is a constitutional committee that is that holds its power in Article 10, Section Article 10G of the SUSG Constitution. Let me read the aforementioned provision. Section 1, the Committee on Resolution shall have the exclusive power to review resolutions, determine the legitimacy of such, and provide an advisory and channeling function for all resolutions presented to the Student Assembly for consideration pursuant to the criteria and guidelines established by the said committee. In Section 2, the Committee on Resolutions shall be composed of 5 members who shall be elected from among the members of the Student Assembly during the first session, one of whom shall be elected chairperson from among themselves. Section 3, the Committee on Resolutions shall be in communication and collaboration with the Resolutions Committee from the Cabinet to effectively execute the resolutions passed by the Student Assembly. Now that I have read the guiding principles of our committee, I'll be representing to you the amendments to our guidelines. So our salient amendments are found first in Guideline 2, Section 2, which reads as follows. Should the proponents fail to follow the time frame, the Committee on Resolution shall implement an extension policy that shall accept submissions on or before 9 p.m., given that the proponents are able to send a letter that explains to the committee the reasons why they are unable to submit their proposed resolutions. All letters that pertain to such shall be sent to the previously mentioned email address on or before 6 p.m. on the same day so that it may be acknowledged by the committee. This amendment was realized by the committee in our first meeting to give way to those who have academic reasons or those who have other reasons to why they medyo na late sila sa ilaang pag-submit. Next, in the same guideline in Section 8,
in special or emergency circumstances of which will be deliberated and determined by all members of the committee, inclusive of its chairperson, with the knowledge and guidance of the Speaker of the Student Assembly or the presiding officer. The committee as a whole may permit the insertion of an urgent resolution. This amendment, na-realize naman ni siya because of after our meeting as a committee, I consulted with our previous committee chairperson in the 34th and also with another previous committee chairperson on the said issue. One of them pertained that during the last assembly, there was a time where they inserted a resolution during the regular session because of its urgency. Now, to address that instance, we just ratified this amendment para dili na need mo pangutana pa or beforehand makapangutana na sa chairperson kung pwede ba siya i-add. And lastly, in guideline 5, section 4, likewise, the Resolutions Committee of the Executive Branch is required to submit a physical report to the Committee on Resolutions of the Student Assembly on the past resolutions. Their report shall be submitted to the committee 3 days before the next regular session of the Student Assembly. It shall be on the discretion of the Resolutions Committee chairperson to polish the report, ensuring that their report shall be detailed yet salient as possible. The reason why we have this specific amendment or addition to the guidelines is because every committee during the regular session, excluding maybe the first regular session, will have reports on or updates on their tasks and on their tasks and activities. For the resolution committee, our role is to give updates on how have the past resolutions been implemented so far. And the other guidelines are just corrections. So that is all for the report of the Committee on Resolutions.
Thank you very much, Committee on Resolutions. Now, are there any discussions or inquiries from the floor regarding the presentation? Yes, Representative Amante.
Thank you for the recognition, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to bring up a recommendation on guideline number 2. Guideline 2, section 2. Yes, okay. If I may humbly suggest to the committee, for number 2, after Committee on Resolutions, that it be amended to say may, because if we're going to follow the letter of each word, Committee on Resolution shall implement an extension policy. Then all letters that pertain to given that the proponents are able to send a letter that explains the reasons. If we say shall, that means you are obligated to send or obligated to grant an extension policy no matter what the reason is. For all we know, a representative could say simply because I forgot to send the resolution. So if we change it to may, it means it gives you guys it gives the committee the discretion to enact the extension, given if the committee believes the reason is valid or strong enough to grant such an extension policy.
Thank you, Honorable Representative. That manifestation is duly noted.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Amante. Are there any further discussions or inquiries on the floor? Going once, going twice. Thank you very much, Committee on Resolutions, for your presentation. Moving on with our order of business, we have the Student Assembly Committee's Guidelines presentation. First, we have the Committee on Appropriations. The Chair would like to summon. Yes, Representative Ozoa, you are recognized.
Thank you for the recognition, Mr. Chair. I would like to move for a 10-minute recess for the representatives to adjust.
Properly moved and seconded. Are there any objections? Motion carried. Session suspended for 10 minutes.
and they are also in charge in safekeeping all necessary paperwork and documentations, coordinating and organizing, etc., etc. And an associate member shall be recognized as a member of the committee who is vested with the right to participate in discussions and the right to in the decision making process. Accordingly, an associate member shall be entitled to exercise limited voting rights. This does not mean limited sila na dili sila ka-vote on certain stuff, but rather limited ang importance, I would say for the lack of better word, importance of their voting. So, for example, when it comes to sponsorship request, there are certain sponsorship that are deemed urgent, and for the importance of efficiency and effectivity, dili ra need usahay ang vote sa associate members kay mo suffice ra ang vote sa primary members. So, muna yung meaning sa limited voting rights. Dili siya limited in the sense na dili sila ka-vote on certain stuff, but rather dili same ang weight sa vote sa primary members and associate members. And the following sections are the hierarchy of the order of succession in cases where there are vacancies in the position. I believe the assembly is furnished with a copy of the document, so I'll be moving forward in the interest of time. Following that article is Article 4, referrals. So without these referrals, the committee cannot entertain business. So when the administration already finished their budget proposals and are prepared to present it to the assembly, the Committee on Appropriations cannot automatically assume jurisdiction of that. It has to be referred to them from the Speaker of the House. So the following sections detailed how the timeline and how the committee should act on these referrals. So I'll just highlight section 4. The definition on acting on a referral shall mean the scheduling and convening of the necessary committee meeting, budget deliberation, hearing to formally address the referred matter. The committee shall ensure the final committee report or legislative action stemming from the referral is completed and submitted to the Student Assembly within 2 working days following the conclusion of the relevant proceeding. So, an important section for Article 4. So, I believe everyone is still furnished with the document, so I'll be moving forward. Article 5 basically outlines and defines the difference between meetings, budget deliberation, and hearings. And to put it in simple terms, meetings is the regular monthly meeting of the committee na they are required to conduct at least once a month. Budget deliberations are meetings that only entertain the budget forwarded from the executive committee or sponsorship requests or yes, inana siya. And for the hearings are for those instances where an issue came up. For example, there's gross misconduct in handling the funds, na issue sa budget, sa general appropriations that an entity raised na, oh my God, na ay problema here, can someone deal with this? So, mag-hearing ang committee. Also, when there is a resolution, when a proponent is trying to pass a resolution specifically entertaining about finances, so that's, for example, a resolution creating another fund or a resolution institutionalizing an event that requires to appropriate funds. So the speaker can refer that to the Committee on Appropriations, considering that the Committee on Appropriations members are well versed when it comes to finances and the overall safekeeping of the SUSG General Fund. So I believe that's it for the Committee on Appropriations. If you have any concerns, you can raise them. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Committee on Appropriations. Now, are there any questions or discussions on the floor regarding the presentation of the guidelines? Going once. Going twice. Thank you very much, Committee on Appropriations, for your presentation. Following the order of business, the Chair would like to summon the Info Media and Technicals Committee, a representative to present the guidelines.
Okay. Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, representatives. I am Sir Antonio Mission, the current Deputy Chairperson. I will be presenting Amuang Guidelines sa Info Media and Technicals Committee on behalf of Amuang Chairperson, which is currently working the tech team right now. So, the committee shall initially, based on among committee structure, the committee shall initially consist of 6 members upon katong election of officers and committees. And following the operational structure comprised of the following 8 roles, which is 1 chairperson, 1 deputy chairperson, 3 infomedia members, and 3 technical members. So, balit, since there's only 6 of us, the corresponding chairpersons and deputy chairpersons will be part of the infomedia and technical members, which is stated here na members may concurrently hold up to 2 roles. Oh, sorry. And these members shall be elected from the representatives of Student Assembly, may request the Student Assembly to elect more members for the committee. And should they deem it necessary, the committee may outsource their tasks and or secure volunteers to aid in their operations, provided that they seek prior approval from the Speaker of the Student Assembly. Then on to ang duties and responsibilities. So, amo ang the chairperson, which is currently si Representative Okang, is designated from within the elected members of the committee, shall have the following responsibilities, which is to answer directly to the Speaker of the Student Assembly in assuring that all necessary tasks and responsibilities are executed and performed properly by the committee, be responsible for the overall supervision and operation of the committee, have full discretion to coordinate and cooperate with the other executive committees, organizations, and offices in matters related to its operations, and which is something now we amended with according to the new committee structure, which adds the deputy chairperson. It is also the responsibility of the chairperson to appoint a deputy chairperson from within the committee's membership to assist in leadership duties and assume full operational responsibilities in case of the chairperson's temporary absence. And then all members of the Infomedia and Technicals Committee are responsible for the live stream, in-house technicals, publication materials, salient reports, and whatever is deemed necessary by the Student Assembly. The Infomedia and Technicals Committee shall collectively bear equal responsibility in the fulfillment of committee's mandate. However, for purposes of operational efficiency, specialization, and effective utilization of resources, it shall be organized into specific functional arms, which is the technical team, which is primarily responsible for live production, technical operations, audiovisual management, equipment setup, maintenance, and administration of digital broadcasting and streaming services. So, bali, ang atong live stream right now, cameras, PPT, and anything necessary that is needed for the function, like broadcasting of our sessions. And then the Infomedia team, which is to add on lang, I guess, ang current technical team is Representative Peñalosa, Representative Okang, and Representative Chupa. And for the Infomedia team, which is primarily responsible for content development, graphic multimedia design, copywriting, publication materials, information dissemination, public relations support, and management of official communication platforms. So, bali, anything like social media related, digital related, and anything that is also published aside from the live stream to the world. And we added this kaning both functional committees shall work in close coordination and collaboration to ensure the efficient delivery of the committee's services and the attainment of its objectives in support of the assembly and its programs. So, bali, even though we have designated roles in the infomedia and technical parts of the committee, we are open to extending our responsibilities to the other team, and we can provide assistance lang whenever we deem necessary or in case of any absences or inability to perform their duties. And chairperson and designated members of the information technology community shall be granted access by the Speaker of the Student Assembly for all social media platforms. Then I think the rest of this you may refer lang to the document because it details lang what is needed and what entails ang sa work of the committee itself. I think that is all, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Infomedia and Technicals committees. Now, are there any discussions on the floor regarding their guidelines? Questions, clarifications? Going once? Going twice? Hearing none, thank you very much, Infotech, for your presentation. And then finally, for the last Student Assembly Committee who will be presenting their guidelines is the Logistics Committee. The chair would like to summon a representative to present your guidelines.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, 36th Assembly. I am Robert Aaron C. Pukulan, the current chairperson of the Logistics Committee. And along with me are the members, Representative Inopia, Representative Olarte, Rep. Tim, Rep. Tolentino, Rep. Hadraque, Rep. Cinco, and Rep. Demanda. Okay, for our guidelines, we only made minor just minor amendments lang, which is, as you can see already, the procurement of materials. So this will be just a brief rundown report as well as the amendments for the time. So basically, the committee is responsible for securing permits, preparing venues, managing equipment, as well as mag-i-add na procurement of materials and addressing operational needs, thereby ensuring the orderly, timely, and efficient conduct of the student assembly activities. And then for the Article 2, this remains as is. 7 members, 1 chairperson, 6 members, or we could add more. We could reopen for a nomination if need be. And let's proceed to Article 3, function and duties. May I ask for an inquiry, Mr. Chair?
Yes.
When kailan ni siya ma-approve? Like,
After the session.
because by listening to the Infotech Committee, I just noticed but we did not put here the ay na ang chairperson. I would like to adapt from them na katong the chairperson would be the one assigning for the deputy. Ang good. So I would like to add that karon. Would it be possible?
What you can do is you can add your amendments regarding the roles and responsibilities of the chairperson, correct? You
Yes.
can still add that and then present your guidelines once more in the following session, which is next week. If you wish to add the provisions right now, you may do so.
Okay, so I wish to add it right now.
Okay.
Just for the time. So I would, for the chairperson responsibilities, I think I'm just gonna adapt Robert for the Infotech na the chairperson also has the responsibility to assign the deputy since he did not do that day sa committee. And for section 2, we just made a minor amendment lang pod. Or this is the venue booking, which means na if there are possible na receipts or if anything na pay na outside of the school, so that need pud na dili lang sa requisition, zero waste, and so add need pud tab receipts for documentation purposes. And to add lang pod kaning kung amend na procurement of materials, this is where I specified na we part of logistics mong good pod is na canvas me and select and buy the materials. So we are responsible for our buying of lanyards pod in our shirts coming. And for the other duties, we just made minor specifications sang to maintain open communication within the Committee on Logistics. And for the limitations, as is, and the Article 5 contingency protocols, we just added specifics report for the equipment unavailability and malfunction. The rest is all. You bring as is again. So thank you.
Thank you very much, logistics committees. Now, are there any questions or discussions regarding their guidelines and presentation from the floor? Again, are there any discussions? Going once? Going twice? You may add those amendments and then furnish the assembly once more a copy of your the new guidelines. Thank you very much, logistics committee, for your presentation. Following the order of business, we have other matters. Now, are there any other matters that need to be discussed by the student assembly? Yes, Representative Amante.
Thank you for the recognition, Mr. Speaker. After looking through the minutes of the previous session, I'd like to make a motion to reconsider its approval as there are some amendments that need to be made.
Okay. A motion has been made to reconsider the recently approved second special session minutes. Are there any seconds? Properly moved and seconded. Are there any discussions regarding the motion? Yes, Representative Cinco. Are there any objections with the motion? So for the information of the assembly, for a motion to reconsider, we need 2/3 of the vote in order for the motion to pass. Since there are no objections, let us put it into a vote. All those in favor to reconsider the adoption of the second special sessions, please raise your hand. Hands down, representatives. All those not in favor. And finally, those in abstention. With 45 in favor, 0 not in favor, and 0 in abstention, the motion to reconsider the adoption of the second special session passes. Now, would anyone like to make a motion to adopt once more? Apologies. Are there any discussion regarding the second special session minutes? Yes, Representative Cinco.
Thank you for the recognition, Mr. Chair. I would like to amend the minutes, specifically my name, in striking out Wilhelm and inserting Wilhelm.
Okay. Properly moved and seconded. Are there any objections? Going once, going twice, motion is carried. Are there any further discussions? Yes, Representative Amante.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm not going to make a motion. Rather, I'm going to make a recommendation to everyone. Whenever we're going to be approving the minutes, for everyone who does like with laptops and such, you can search up your name and look up your individual. If ever you spoke in a session, you can look up your name and your individual lines of speaking, so you can make sure that whatever you said in the assembly reflects properly in the minutes. Because there have been numerous times throughout each assembly where they find out after the minutes are approved, they find their name is misspelled or what they said in the session was not accurately reflected in the minutes. So I would suggest that right now, just for safety, so we don't have to go through another reconsideration of approval of minutes. Everyone just check up on their individual contributions to the discussion, para we can ensure that the minutes are accurate and reflect what happened in the previous session. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much, Representative Amante. Are there any further discussions regarding the minutes? Yes, Representative Narciso.
Thank you for the acknowledgement, Mr. Chair. I would also like to amend the spelling of my name, Hillary, by removing the additional E before the Y in the attendance.
Okay.
Thank you.
A motion has been made. Are there any seconds? Properly moved and seconded. Are there any objections on the floor? Going once, going twice, motion is carried. Are there any further discussions regarding the second special session minutes? Again, are there any further discussions regarding the minutes? Yes, Representative Benedico.
Thank you for the acknowledgement, Mr. Speaker. I would motion to amend the spelling of my name again in the minutes. It's Kirhsi.
Okay, a motion has been made to correctly spell Representative Benedico's name. Are there any seconds? Properly moved and seconded. Are there any objections? Going once, going twice, motion is carried. Are there any further discussions on the floor? Going once, going twice. Let us put it into a vote in the adoption of the second special session minutes. All those in favor of the adoption, please raise your hand. Lower your hands, representatives. All those not in favor. And then finally, those in abstention. With 46 in favor, 0 not in favor, and 0 abstention, the adoption for the minutes of the second special session is carried. Finally, continuing with other matters, are there any matters that need to be discussed by the Student Assembly? Yes, Representative Mission, you are recognized.
Thank you for the recognition, Mr. Chair. I would like to make a motion for the Infotech Committee to be able to present their brand kit and polo designs.
Okay, a motion has been made. Are there any seconds? Properly moved and seconded. Are there any objections on the floor? Going once, going twice. The Infotech, may I request the Infotech to present their brand kit and polo design?
Hello. Good afternoon again, representatives. I am Representative Mission, the current Deputy Chairperson of the Infomedia Technicals Committee, with Representative Benedico as part of the Infomedia sector of the committee. So here we would like to present lang. You've probably already seen this Facebook or Instagram. Among current brand kit and theme for the 36th Student Assembly. So, bali, one of, like, going into this, we were, like, the initial, like, approach that we had for this brand kit is we had sentiments na the assembly has a very rigid and kind of unapproachable, not to, like, talk bad about the work of the previous assemblies, pero ang image sa assembly, at least digitally, is very rigid, very serious, which is fitting naman for our nature of our work. Where we wanted to create a new, like, concept that makes us kind of look a bit more welcoming, a bit more softer, and a bit more, dare I say, more appealing to the audience. And hence we came up with this design, which is kind of like a cable wiry like some people said na more siya rainbow daw. Pero we just wanted to, I guess, make it look a bit more less sharp and hence mark very curvy, very straight lines na lang among design. And kaning colors for amo ang assembly is really just taken from the assembly logo itself, the key color dropper jud na namo, along with the classic Silliman red color scheme. And the way that we formulated this brand kit is all of the members sa Infomedia and Technicals Committee, including the Technicals Koan, were able to present to the speakers the how many like last month goro to ang ilang individual ideas for the brand kit, and this is overall na generalize namo from that meeting namo na condense ang mga designs and suggestions based on suggestions from the individual members and from the speakers on what they want us to make. And so yeah, naka-detail already ang mga different elements and different designs, like divine designs na you've probably already seen in the different posts we've made. And kaning TV, which was suggested from the speaker, is like representing ato ang the way we're broadcasting ourselves ato ang like for transparency our sessions and our like atong work as an assembly to the general audience, and that also ties into the cable wiry design of it all. Okay, it not only connects us individually as representatives, and it connects us to the entire student body. And so kana dali mga fonts and stuff, and pwede pa next slide. So this is hopefully ang incoming DPN banner, which is we're planning to change siguro by the end of the month, because currently ato ang assembly page still has the Pride logo. So in solidarity of Pride Month, we will change this lang after once humanang Pride Month. And pwede pa next slide. These are the different examples of how we use the brand kit, which is ang salient reports for the attendance and different like parts of salient reports, which is you can, if you need to look at that, naarabot na sa among Facebook page. And then next slide, please. And then so yes, that is an example from the officer's post, though it is not the exact picture used dito. That is the officer's post, and if what we just posted last night on session scheduling, which is I guess we will be doing for throughout the upcoming sessions. We will be publishing in advance using that PubMat amor nang i-edit ato ang session schedules. And then next up, polo designs. So currently we have 4 possible designs, pero we are open to making more designs if wala mo'y kiganahan diha. So we have the options na i-cotton siya or i-dry fit, which hopefully we will make a motion on soon. Pero these are the 4 polo designs. They're just along the same rendition sa siya. It's actually very similar sa kaning 35th na polo, where it's kanang red, overall black siya na polo, then na siya red sa collar, the red line sa collar and sa sleeves. And then we just incorporated na katong rainbow stripe thing that is seen throughout amo ang brand kit and designs. And if you could go sa next slide na ay more polo designs, which is the same thing, and we just moved the rainbow thing around. And I think as of right now, that is all, because the lanyard is not yet done.
Thank you very much, Infomedia and Technicals Committee. Yes. Thank you very much for your work in making the pub mats. If you've noticed online, we have very lovely pub mats regarding the salient reports as well as the announcement of our scheduled sessions. Now, given that the committee has not yet decided whether or not we will go with cotton or full sublimation, would anyone like to make a motion for us to decide on which type of clothing we will be having as our uniform? Yes, Representative Cantila.
Thank you for the recognition, Mr. Chair. I wish to make a motion to vote on whether our polo would be sublimation, dry fit, or cotton.
Okay, a motion has been made. Are there any seconds? Properly moved and seconded. So the motion was either cotton, dry fit, or full sublimation. Are there any discussions? Full sub, apologies. Full sub is dry fit. So are there any discussions on the floor before we vote on the type of clothing? Yes, Representative Ozoa.
Thank you for the recognition, Mr. Chair. Can the committee disclose the following information? How much if dry fit siya or polo? How if ever we do decide na dry fit, would it be faster compared to polo? And if are there certain designs na would only be possible if dry fit siya?
I would like thank you for that question.
Again.
Proponents, do you have the answer or
If I may lang, mo refer sa amin sa document kadali.
okay. If ever we can also refer the questions to the logistics committee. Okay, may a representative from the logistics committee answer the question?
This question is noted, Representative Ozoa. So as of the moment, the logistics committee have found that Transfer It offers the most affordable polos and lanyards for the assembly. And according to our canvassing, we have noted that if we were to go for a bulk order for the dry fit polos, this would be around 500 per polo if we would have a order of 50 pieces. And if we go to the colored polos, which have a lot of options as well, it's it's a similar range lang, 500 to 600.
Okay, inquiry satisfied, Representative.
Very satisfied, Mr. Chair. As now.
Thank you, Representative Ozoa. Are there any further discussions? Yes, Representative Cantila.
Just a question to the committee. If let's say we would settle for the cotton, would it be printed or would it be embroidered?
Koan. If we were to settle for a cotton design, think ang logo and the representative, if we can zoom in ba, ang representative name lang. Similar to kaning previous polos, is ang logo ra jud og ang name will be embroidered and the rest of it is printed on lang, which is including kanang rainbow stripe design.
Thank you for that. Just an insight. I believe sa would it be okay? I believe sa some printing presses or mga printing companies would charge extra if kuan na pa-print pa kay ang sa akong experience if pa-print ra na if magpa-embroider that would cost around 500 pero if na embroidered then print for cotton it would cost more or mo range na din na siya closer to 600 depending on the design that we would choose. That is all na po.
Thank you very much, Representative. Yes, Representative Olarte.
A point of information lang from earlier Rep Cantila, the prices that we presented already include the cost for embroidery and for back printing, which around the range or siya for 500 to 600 if we opt for maybe dry fit or cotton. So appeal lang siya sa cost. I will be furnishing the copy we have to our secretary.
Thank you very much, Representative. Are there any other sentiments from the floor? Now would be the time to share your sentiments whether you prefer dry fit or cotton. Yes, Representative Ozoa.
Thank you for the recognition, Mr. Chair. So apologies, there was a question of mine earlier that was not answered. which was what are specific designs there na were made exclusively considering na dry fit ang koan ang ipili. Like for example, na by design there na pang dry fit ra siya mobagay.
The question stands, proponents.
Koan, all of these actually were in mind na it can actually be both. Pero I think just mas mahal jud siya if koan, especially considering if cotton siya, considering kanang design na stripe modugang jud siya sa cost, I think. If I'm not mistaken, beyond sa katong canvas nila, if we choose to include these kaning major designs.
The chair has a inquiry point na if ever the assembly does decide with a full sub or a dry fit texture, can the infotech present another design that would cater to utilize or the optimize the texture of the clothing?
Yes, we are definitely open to making more designs. Like if just ang cotton limited jud kaayo ang imuhang ma-decorate with it. It's really just similar jud ani ilahang polos na embroidered sa front, design sa back, and even kaning among gipang include na printed unta na stripe designs. We still need to talk with the suppliers if possible budget siya or like what the additional costs would be for those. So yes, open rami.
Inquiry satisfied, representative?
Inquiry satisfied.
Yes. Do you have a follow-up?
It's not a follow-up, Mr. Chair, but rather a sentiment about this discussion. Regarding the decision that we have to make, whether it be dry fit or polo siya, we have to take into consideration how it would look, whether the polo would be more formal or not. And I've also heard some sentiments from representatives from the 32nd Assembly who had a full sublimation shirt na katong ilang shirt daw kay can mubaho daw siya, dali daw siya mubaho, especially kung sington sila, which I don't think is much concern if we stay here sa MPR because it's really cold. But if ever we do have official functions outside our sessions and we have to wear our polo, we have to take that into consideration. However, I am open to any to the decision that the floor will make. However, I prefer it being polo.
Thank you for sharing your sentiments. Representative Ozoa, are there any other further discussions? Again, are there any further discussions on the floor? From the minority floor, are there any discussions? From the majority floor? Yes, Representative Mejos.
Thank you for the recognition, Mr. Speaker. I'd only like to bring up that in my experience in a previous organization, they also produced a polo wherein different stripes basically were printed on it. However, they needed to sew the cloth, the actual color of the cloth into the polo for it to be possible. So I would only like to raise to the floor that if we were to consider a cloth type of polo, that would imply that it needs to have a lesser design, probably, right? So that's only one thing that the floor can consider. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much, Representative Mejos. Are there any further discussions on the floor? Yes, Representative Munoz.
For the recognition, Mr. Chair, I would also want to share a sentiment and our consideration for the floor is that we should also identify and acknowledge the nature of our work because we usually see sublimation or full dry fit uniforms in the executive committee, because one thing, it soaks up water easily or sweat. That means that their work requires a lot of sweating, a lot of moving. And unlike the things that we do, we don't really run around to for events. We usually present ourselves in better uniform because it's a proper way to do it. With this, I would want us to reconsider that us in the assembly are in uniform, and we should choose a fabric and a design that is better and would align with what a uniform is supposed to look like. With that, I would also would want you to consider that the polo may look bland with the name, the logo, and a back print at the back, but just like what we're also aiming is that we also want a lanyard. With this, we can always pair our plain uniform polo with a lanyard that stands out, that would look like an accessory to the uniform. That's all, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you for that sentiment, Representative Munoz. Are there any further sentiments on the floor? Yes, Representative Gaiter, you are recognized.
Thank you for the recognition, honorable representative. With all the sentiments being considered, I move the previous question, Mr. Chair.
A motion has been made to go back to the previous question, and it has been seconded. Parliamentary inquiry to Representative Amante. Does this motion require a vote, or is it direct na? Okay. Since a motion was made to go back to the previous question, it requires 2/3 of the vote from the assembly. So all those in favor of going back to the previous question, which is voting upon whether it is dry fit or cotton, please raise your hand. Hands down, representatives. Those not in favor of the motion. Are you raising your hand, Representative Lumaya? Hands down, representatives. And those in abstention, please raise your hand. With 44 in favor, 2 not in favor, and 0 abstention, the motion to go back to the previous question passes. Going back to the previous question, we will be deciding, or the representatives will be voting whether the fabric of the uniform be dry fit or cotton. All those in favor of cotton, please raise your hand. Okay, hands down, representatives. Hands down, representatives. All those not in favor, apologies, correction. All those in favor of dry fit, please raise your hand. And then finally, those in abstention, please raise your hand. With 45 in favor of cotton, 0 not in favor of dry fit, and 1 in abstention, the final fabric for our uniforms will be cotton. Yes, Representative Amante.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Since we're going to need, I believe, this assembly needs a little bit more time to discuss more on the designs, and it's best that we not do it right now because this could lead to a messier discussion. So I move that we, or rather, not going to move because that will limit our discussion. I would like to suggest to the assembly that we conduct the discussion on the designs in the group chat and the private Facebook group, so that we don't have to what, fill up the minutes and the records with our individual design philosophies and sentiments, because let's reserve the records for important discussions on student assembly matters and university matters as well. So thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you for your sentiments, Representative Amante. Before we thank our Infotech, are there any further discussions regarding the brand kit and polo shirts? Going once, going twice. Thank you very much, Infotech, for your presentation. Following the order of business with other matters, are there any discussions that need to be brought up to the Assembly? Yes, Representative Gaitera.
Thank you for the recognition, Honorable Representative. This is simply a suggestion lang to the secretaries. During the roll call, may I request nga before calling out the names, you call out first the college. So like sa start kay you call out College of Arts and Sciences, then before you proceed with the names na, and then do the same for the following just so that ma-aware po ang each colleges kay mutoy rason nga nung wala ko ni race dayon kay I wasn't aware nga ni ko na day ni Cas na day. Thank you.
Thank you very much, representatives. Are there any other matters that need to be discussed? Yes, Representative Amante.
Thank you for the recognition, Mr. Speaker. It is, as far as I'm aware, and I believe this assembly is aware, there are still representatives that are missing from the full operational slate, namely the College of Law Representatives, Divinity School, one from CBA, and one more, I believe one more from ICLS, correct? Or complete now? the absence of COMELEC, which happened last year, and if I'm not mistaken, is present right now. There's no COMELEC that has been appointed yet, or no COMELEC operational. Once the request is transmitted, but including that in that request, we'll also we'll also inform that the student assembly will proceed with requesting the individual college and deans for an appointment of a representative. So it's just for formality and for following the rules and the law here in the SUSG.
Okay, yes, Representative.
So to clarify, Mr. Chair, the notice is formality lang.
Yes.
So even if the notice is already sent, the individual college can still
Yes.
look for their respective representatives. But when, for example, when COMELEC is already fully functional, let's say next week Thursday, and we already found a representative atong Wednesday, would that certify the appointment? Since, for example, we found a representative, the representative said yes, and the appointment process begins, and the COMELEC will convene the next day. Will the appointment process cease and will proceed with the special election, or will the appointment be validated lang?
The chair believes that COMELEC will coordinate with the respective faculty or council of the department. And then what will happen is that the representative will have to be endorsed to the student assembly. So in the case that a special election does occur, then that will be the basis for the representative to be in position. However, if the faculty or the council is able to find a representative before that, they must endorse the representative to the assembly. Thus, the COMELEC will no longer need to conduct a special election.
Okay, the reason why I raised this concern is that it might take additional time, and since this is gonna be a special election, the candidate might need to shell out resources to campaign. So, I was just thinking that before we send the formal notice, maybe the assembly can give a grace period for the individual college to still look for representatives before we send the formality. In cases kay what if by the tomorrow kay fully functional na ang COMELEC kay suddenly people went, yes, mag-COMELEC ko. So yes, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Thank you for that sentiments, Representative Ozoa. Are there any further discussions before we proceed to the motion in question? Yes, Representative Pukulan.
Thank you for that recognition, Mr. Chair. I would like to manifest lang. I would like to inform you na I've sent the amended guidelines to the SSG.
Thank you for that, Representative Pukulan. However, that is not germane to our current discussion, which is to make a motion to request COMELEC to conduct a special election for the missing representatives in the slate of the 36th SUSG Student Assembly. Again, are there any discussions regarding the pending motion? From the minority floor, are there any sentiments to be raised? From the majority, are there any sentiments from the majority floor? Since there are none, let us go back to the previous question, which is a motion to request COMELEC to conduct a special election for the missing representatives of the 36th SUSG Student Assembly. Yes, Representative.
Before anything, I'd like to amend my motion to strike out Divinity School from the motion because it just occurred to me Divinity School has their own private special elections, and then they transmit it to the student assembly, and we install them on our own. So with that, so just a motion to amend my original motion.
So a motion to amend The original motion has been made. Are there any seconds? Properly moved and seconded. Are there any discussion? So this will be a second degree amendment. Apologies, a first amendment to the original motion. So the motion will be to amend the first motion to strike out Divinity School because the stipulated colleges or departments that will be requested from COMELEC is ICLS, CBA, and law. Are there any discussions on the floor? Are there any objections on the floor? Hearing none, amendment is carried. Going back to the previous question, which is for COMELEC to request COMELEC to conduct special elections. Are there any discussions on the floor? Going once, going twice. Are there any objections? Apologies. Let us put it into a vote. All those in favor of the pending motion, which is a motion to request COMELEC to conduct special elections for the representatives who are currently missing in the 36th, which is ICLS, CBA, and law. All those in favor? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Please raise your hands high, your representatives, so that the secretaries may see. Raise. You may now lower your hands. All those not in favor, please raise your hand. All those in abstention, please raise your hands. With 43 in favor, 0 not in favor, and 2 in abstention, the motion to request COMELEC to conduct special elections for ICLS, law, and CBA is carried. Are there any other matters that need to be discussed by the Student Assembly? Again, are there any other matters? Yes, Representative Pukolan.
Thank you for that recognition, Mr. Chair. I would like to inform you again that I've submitted the amended guidelines of the Logistics Committee and the SUSG. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Representative Pukolan. The chair will also furnish the representatives a copy of the amended guidelines for transparency. Aside from that, are there any other matters that need to be discussed? Hearing none, let us move on to the announcements. First of all, the chair would like to congratulate the 36th SUSG Student Assembly as well as the Cabinet for successfully conducting the Genesis 2026 as the assembly was able to successfully conduct an SUSG help desk, and the assembly also would like to congratulate the different executive committees on their successful booths as well as the entire event as a whole. And we also would like to welcome the Sillimanians back for the school year 2026-2027. Following that, we would also like to announce that our first regular session will be scheduled next week on June 21, which will be our first regular session. And I believe from Speaker Pro Tempore, do you have any announcements you would like to make to the floor? Okay, hearing none. Yes, Representative Gaitera, you are recognized.
Thank you for the recognition, Honorable Representative. The Impeachments Committee will like to announce that in the first regular session, the attendance system will now be in full effect. Likewise, the dress code will also be enforced by then. Thank you.
Yes. So for the information of the assembly, since it will be our apologies, it will still be formal attire or smart casual for our first regular session. However, for our scheduled second regular session, we will be wearing traditional wear or barongs or modern, sorry, apologies, modern Filipino attire for our second regular session, which is scheduled first week of July. Yes, Representative Cantila.
Thank you for the recognition, Mr. Chair. I wish to announce to the members of the Committee on Resolutions that we would be meeting shortly after this session is adjourned. And then for those who would be submitting resolutions for the first regular session, please just follow the guidelines which will be provided to you by the secretary, the assembly as a whole, and note the guidelines that would also be in effect by then. That is all po.
Thank you, Representative Cantila. And I would also like to let the representatives know that if ever you guys are doing your platform or taking action, you may request to do privileged speeches to give the assembly updates on your platforms if ever your actions do not require resolutions, so that the assembly may be informed of the different actions being done by the representatives in their respective colleges. I believe that is all for the announcements. Would anyone like to make a motion for adjournment? Yes, Representative Ozoa.
Thank you for the recognition, Mr. Chair. I would like to move to adjourn the third special session of the 36th Assembly.
A motion has been made to adjourn the third special session of the 36th SUSG Student Assembly, and it has been properly moved and seconded. Are there any objections? Going once, going twice. Hearing none, the third special session of the 36th SUSG Student Assembly is hereby adjourned. All rise for the Silliman song.
Where the white sands and the coral kiss the dark blue southern sea, and the palm trees tall and stately wave their branches in the breeze, stands the college green. Silliman beside the sea. When we leave the coast of Silliman, roam the world o'er near and far. Still the faith and truth she gave us will remain our guiding star. For in high place or in lowly, fortune stands a joy of fame. To our love for dear old Silliman, loyal shall be every day. Loyal beauties of Silliman, is the hero's fleet at sea. Silliman beside the sea.
Picture representatives, please.
Minority floor, we will have a caucus at Cheesesteak Country.
Okay, puntaan na, majority floor.
Yes, mag-caucus na kami guys sa Cheesesteak.
Photo. Match and minor.